MIS 4983. This is your instructor Amy again. This is the second lecture video for Module 5, Teacher Training and Foreign Language Teaching Methods. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so teacher training, there is explicit, like specific training or instruction for language teachers. It often is really like language approaches and language methods. So approaches are theories about the nature of language and language learning, and these kind of give you a foundation for your language teaching. And then you have language learning methods, and this is taking those theories and actually creating lessons using them and putting them into practice. So a theory such as total TPR, total physical response, says that language learning is better when people are moving, and so creating a lesson, and there's the TPR method where you create language lessons that include movement in them, and therefore your students will learn more. So that's the difference. So the approaches are the overarching theories and ideas, and the methods are how you put those ideas into practice. So foreign language teaching methods, there's a bunch of them. There are techniques for teaching second languages. Like I said, there are a bunch of them. There's lots of different ones. A lot of them contradict each other. Your goal should be to have input. So remember from the last video that input is what you bring in the language. Your goal is to have your input be just like one step ahead of where your learners are. So if your learners know nothing, then this is like a basic level 1. Once you get basic level 1 stuff, your input's going to be at level 2. And then you're just going to build up and always be just like one step ahead. So they're always they understand a lot, but there's always something they don't understand that they have to figure out, and that's what they end up acquiring and going forward. And you can scaffold. This is giving additional information to aid in your comprehension. So maybe that could be having like a color chart on the wall in a classroom. It could be using hand gestures. It could be using props of some kind. It could have maybe you give the students a sheet with translations on them beforehand to study before the lesson. That's all scaffolding. It's the additional information that you give your students to help them understand your lesson. So note that the terms method and approach are often conflated. So people will talk about approaches to language learning methods. It's all kind of like used interchangeably, even though it shouldn't be. Okay, so which method is best? There's lots of them. Which one's the best? None of them, all in one, really is just the one that works. The one that works for your students or for you, that's the best one. So here's some not great ones. Grammar translation. This was very much my high school French class. Grammar translation, very old method, sometimes called the classical method. It's often used to help students gain an appreciation of literature in a foreign language. So maybe, for example, you are learning poetry in a language, or we did a whole story, The Little Prince, and we had to translate it and stuff. Direct translation. So you were translating word for word, either from a language into English is most common, sometimes from English into a language, but mostly you're going to take something in the language and translate it word for word. And a breakdown of the grammatical structure. So you're going to talk about why this form is used, or why this is spelled this way, or how you would pronounce this. It requires a lot of language instruction. It is definitely for very low level learners, level 1 and level 2. But I've also done it in very advanced classes. You're just using very complicated literature. So I have some links so you can see an example of grammar translation, and then I give an example here. J'avais, it's literally I was having. It's called the imperfect tense. J'ai vu, literally I have seen. This is called the simple past tense. In French, the imperfect is called imparfait, and it's also called passé composé for the past tense. Sans le manger, without chewing it, literally without it to chew. It is a infinitive verb, and so I have some more examples if you follow the links, and you can see examples of grammar translation. So here they're taking a verb and they broke down every single form of the verb. Grammar translation. Okay, the direct method. This is also an old method, sometimes called the natural method. No translation is allowed, so you're not doing any translation. Meaning has to be conveyed through demonstration and visual aids. So if you don't understand what I said, I have to act it out or I have to show you an example, but there is no translation. Grammar is taught inductively, so you're not going to learn the rules of grammar. You're just going to figure it out, and if you use the wrong form, I'll correct you, but there's not going to really be a why. I talked about this one earlier. Total physical response, TPR, meaning is conveyed through actions. You get that muscle memory activated, and then a lot of times it's fun the way you can make the lessons, so that affective filter goes down. Spoken language is emphasized over written language. This is not about reading and writing. This is about listening and maybe speaking, but a lot of like listening and speaking. So here's an example that I gave when I taught this class in person of a TPR activity. So I gave this scaffolding to the class. I put this on the overhead projector in the class, and I went over each word. Konnichiwa, Amy sensei, blank san. And so I pointed to different people in the class and said like Katie-san and Carly-san and Dwayne-san, and kind of demonstrated what that would mean. Mina-san, pointed to everybody. That's everybody. Ides, EA, and maybe did like head nod up and down and back and forth for now. Kudasai. And so I went through all these different Japanese words, and then I did a lesson where I told everyone to please stand up, please sit down, please dance, please jump, and told everybody to do it. Told, one person, like Dwayne-san, and told them if they did good or no, that wasn't right. And we did it as an activity. That is an example of a TPR lesson. Okay, another teaching method is master apprentice. So this combines a lot of different methods, including task-based learning, the direct method, TPR, the communicative method. And it's really just a one-on-one language lesson where someone who has more of the language, the master, is sharing that language often through an activity with an apprentice, someone who has less of the language. It may involve completing a task. Some of the best ones to do are like home chores, like folding laundry or cooking, following simple commands, or telling a story. And then apprentices, following this method, are supposed to then, once they have a certain amount of language, turn around and take their own apprentice. They're not going to be fluent, but that's not the point of taking an apprentice. It's creating a chain and passing that knowledge down. And so once they are really confident in one of those same lessons, like the folding laundry or how to make coffee in the language, and they have that down, then finding someone that they can then teach that to is a crucial part of that. And it's a very common, especially in indigenous communities, and it works really well. It is a great method. And here you can see an example of it. Content-based instruction. This is a strong version of the communicative method. It involves learning a language through content. So you're going to watch videos, have written things, have audio. It's not a new approach, and it's kind of a mixture of learning a language and learning a subject. So imagine that if you took like a French history class, but it was all in French, right? And so you're going to watch videos and listen to podcasts and read articles and write different things and maybe even create your own videos and give presentations about the stuff that you learn in the class, but you're going to learn it all in that language. It's often used in bilingual and immersion schools. It's a great idea for like a native culture class where you learn the culture, but you learn it mostly through the language. And so here it gives the example of learning about geography through the target language. When I worked for OU's ESL school, when our international students would come, this is how they learned. They took easy versions of OU college classes, not for credit, for practice, but like an early or an easy version of American history or U.S. government. They've never had to take those classes ever before, like in middle school and high school, like we all did. So a lot of that's new info, and so we gave it to them in like a really easy format so that when they had enough practice, they would go to a regular freshman political science class and not be struggling in it. Task-based language learning is the goal is to facilitate learning through the completion of certain tasks. A teacher is going to give you input and tell you what you need to do and kind of guide a student through it. Examples, so teaching colors, number, and article of clothing through folding laundry, or teaching advanced vocabulary structures by having students explain how they would reduce homelessness in their town. So having something that you have to do and then working towards that goal and learning the language through it. Here's more examples of different approaches and methods. And let me have these pulled up. So here is a guide to learning English, and it has different grammar, vocabulary, language skills, games, and information. And really all this information can be extended to any language that you're trying to learn as a second language. You just change the input to that language. This is an article, 5 approaches to teaching foreign languages, and it talks about, here's that communicative approach again that we talked about, direct instruction, audiolingual model, TPR. So this just talks more about some of those common methods. This website has a lot of different methods. Some are the same, but like this reading approach, the silent way, for example. And then here is a website from the University of Texas for their foreign language teaching students that's got methods and ways for them to be able to, learn how to teach the languages that they want to teach. So this is a really great resource. And then this is the Oklahoma Foreign Language Teachers Association. This is another great resource for teachers because here in Oklahoma, any of the public school teachers can join this, and then I've seen other Native American language teachers join that aren't teaching in the public schools, and it's really just professionals that teach foreign languages come together and work together and share ways, things that have worked in their classrooms, or different things that you can do, different opportunities. So it's a really great organization. If you ever become a teacher of your language, or if you know people who are, it's a really great resource. All right, so thanks for listening to Module 5 Lecture Part 2. I will have another video soon talking about what we need to do to start getting ready for our final project. I'll talk to you then. Bye.